Welcome back, everybody. I'm Anthony with the Emerging Civil War social media team. We're with Joe, and Joe did a great talk today. Let's hear a little bit more about his topic from him. Joe, what drew you to this post-Civil War event?
So I think sometimes what happens, especially when we're focused on the Civil War, right? We get stuck with what Chris Mikowski likes to call the mud and the blood. I call it battles and leaders. And you just kind of get stuck learning about personalities on the battlefield and all that stuff. I think that's good, and it sells books. And it gets people to symposiums, it fills seats. But all of that struggle, all of the death, all the carnage, all the violence had to be for something. And that something ultimately is the preservation of the Union and the end of slavery. But something else happens immediately after the war. It's the Reconstruction era where we really start to test if the war had actually served a purpose at all. And that's the thing I think that gets me thinking about this topic. But then as I started to kind of dive into post-war racial clashes, post-war political violence, there's probably nothing easier to find than the Battle of Liberty Place or the Canal Street coup, because it's right there in my backyard. So I grew up in New Orleans. I'd always seen, heard, talked about the Battle of Liberty Place and the monument that was there and all these things that are affiliated with it. But there's like a watered down story that you get, which is, oh yeah, these guys on September 14th, 1874 attempted to overthrow the governor. And that's like, that's it. And then there's the pictures, right? There's the woodcuts of streetcars flipped over on their side and men with their Henry repeaters and Gatling guns. But outside of that, there's not a lot there, which makes then, as a historian, your mind is like, oh, this is going to be a treasure trove. And that's really how I got, I think, sucked into it more than drawn into it.
So you said two different names for it right then.
Yep.
What is this event called?
That's a great question. For a very long time, the September 14th, 1874 incident was referred to as the Battle of Liberty Place. And that was the name given to this incident by the New Orleans White League, the Crescent City White League, which was this group of kind of paramilitary agitators who attempted to overthrow the free and fair, democratically elected governor of the state of Louisiana, and William Pitt Kellogg. And that was the name that they gave it, because in their mind they were overthrowing a usurper government and they were reclaiming their liberty and their rights. At least that's what they told people, right? But this is a mob of people who were intent to restore white rule to Louisiana and eventually the entire former Confederacy. So they called it Liberty Place, and they put up a monument. They started raising funds for it in 1882, and then by 1911 actually got the obelisk erected. It's got all kinds of inscriptions on it, and we'll talk about the inscriptions. We talked about the inscriptions in my talk, but they kind of are just out and out saying why there was this battle, and they say it was to protect and restore white supremacy and white rule. And my favorite's doing a lot of work, and the air quotes are doing a lot of work in that. The inscription says, like, to take these usurpers from our state and reclaim our state. So it shows that for their mind, they saw themselves almost as revolutionaries, that they were fighting for liberty and independence and all these things. They were, as they said, throwing off the hands of the oppressors. But probably a more appropriate name is a name that's being used a little bit more recently, and more recent historiography, is the Canal Street coup of 1874. Because it's what this was. This was a paramilitary organization that planned and executed the overthrow of William Pitt Kellogg and his Republican administration from the gubernatorial role in the state of Louisiana. And it was a successful coup for 3 days. The actual usurpers of government held power in the state until the United States Army had to show up and put down an insurrection. And I think ultimately what makes the title of a coup, it makes it so much more, I think, appropriate. It also shows us great warning signs and historical lessons in what happens when a group like this attempts to overthrow a free and fair election, and then faces essentially no consequences for what unfolded. And that's what happens in New Orleans in 1874.
Has much been written about the incident?
So there's a couple different sources. Justin Nystrom is a great historian of Louisiana Civil War era history. He's got a great piece on the Battle of Liberty Place, the Canal Street coup, and really actually Reconstruction in Louisiana. There is a book that was published in the 1950s. It is very much dated and has a lot of the same tropes, right? Reconstruction was a villainy upon the South, all these things. And then there was an article written in the 1990s during one of the controversies over the Canal Street and Liberty Place monument. And it was written by Judith K. Schaefer in the Louisiana Cultural Vistas magazine. It's amazing that in almost, 160 years since this happened, or 150 years since this happened, there's really only 3 or 4 publications that are focused on it. Elizabeth Varon's biography of James Longstreet, who of course plays a pretty seminal role in the battle, she actually has one of the best accountings of the entire affair. Hello.
Was Coco there?
Coco was not there, but I'm glad that Coco is here, because I love Coco. Hello, Coco.
Well, Joe, thanks again. Thanks again for a great talk.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dig in more to the Canal Street coup or the Battle of Liberty Place, and we'll see you online and on the battlefield.